Hello, this is Ross Bliley from the podcast Pigskin Tales. This podcast is sponsored by Sterling Soap Company. With products sold throughout 41 locations around the globe, Sterling Soap Company has a unique assortment of products to choose from for your loved one for the holidays. Handmade artisan soaps created by Roderick and Amanda Lovin since 2012, these products are affordable and provide great value. Act now and save on your shipping costs. If you purchase $75 or more, your shipping cost is free in the United States. Shop now online at sterlingsoap.com. Face off with Firefly Publishing for another drop into the fascinating world of pro hockey history with Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. Following his bestseller, hockey historian and writer Eric Zwig opens the doors to the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame, revealing a treasure of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave the most devoted puckhead astounded. Just to name drop a few of the players he's included in this book are Wayne Gretzky, Jaromir Jagr, and Bobby Hull. Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 is a must-read for pro hockey fans who crave more than just scores and statistics. Mr. Zwig invites you to uncover the true stories that have shaped the sport, ensuring that you will never look at the game of hockey the same way again. So skate on over to Amazon.com, Target, and Walmart to get your copy now.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today, we will have part 3 of our Thanksgiving special.
Because they didn't keep it back then, but they still claim that they have him down for 20 sacks. I just looked him up for that year, but it was actually kind of more. The Cowboys kept their own stats back then, which doesn't surprise me at all. And they said he had like 23 sacks or 23 and a half sacks. I can't remember, but he was very good. He wasn't as good against the run as Ed Jones. Ed Jones was tremendous, both, rushing the passer, and I think Ed Jones might have been a little more of a complete player, but boy, Harvey Martin was good. I think he was quicker off the ball than Ed Jones a little, kind of.
Yeah. That was a 14-game schedule when he had those 23 sacks.
Yes, people don't. Yeah, exactly. People don't know about that. That's right.
No, they don't know. So then on the next play, Charles Young fumbled, and Washington took possession at their 16-yard line. And then we have 3rd and 4. Linebacker D.D. Lewis made a great play. He managed to trip up Dwayne Thomas just shy of the first down. And then a chip shot field goal by Mark Mosley was blocked by guy you were just talking about, Ed Too Tall Jones.
Tremendous.
Yep. He blocked the field goal. So then the Cowboys take over on their 20-yard line, and Newhouse ran for 8. Newhouse had some really good runs in this game. Ran for 8 yards. And then on 3rd and 2, Drew Pearson caught a pass to gain 10 yards and a first down. Then on the next play, Longley got drilled by Dyron Talbert just as he released the ball. And then on the next play, Pearson caught a pass for a 19-yard gain. So it looked like they had a good drive going, but then the drive fizzled out, and Dallas had to punt. But the Redskins couldn't do anything. They punted it right back to Dallas. Then after the Cowboys got a penalty on a first down, Charles Young also had some big runs in this game. 14 yards on a draw play. Then Newhouse gained 11 yards on a sweep. And Billy Joe Dupree gained 10 yards on a pass deflection to get the ball to the Redskins' 30-yard line. So they got a good drive going here. But then Longley gets sacked by Bill Brundage and Verlin Biggs for a 15-yard loss.
They had a good line, the Redskins, a good defensive line.
They sure did. Verlin Biggs was on that Jets Super Bowl team, right?
Yes, he was, yep.
Big guy. He was a big guy. This was a big loss, too. A 15-yard loss on this sack. Then Pat Fisher forced a fumble after a reception by Drew Pearson. The turnovers were killing them, Dave.
5 turnovers they had in that game, I believe.
Absolutely killing them.
Because if you look at the stats of that game, Mark, and I looked the other night when we were just, when I was brushing up on things.
Yeah.
The Cowboys really outplayed the Redskins, even though they were losing 16-3 at one time.
Yeah.
The Cowboys had 373 total yards. The Redskins only had 207.
That's right.
Imagine that, 134 yards rushing to the Redskins, 105, and 272 to 112 in passing. But they had 5 turnovers. We all know about turnovers. Anybody that knows football knows what they do to you. But I didn't realize that before I looked at that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they really outplayed them. And also, they had 23 first downs. The Redskins only had 11.
Yes, that's double. Unbelievable.
Yeah. They really did outplay them. But you can't, the Redskins were known for taking advantage of those turnovers.
Yep.
You can't have that many turnovers against the Redskins. Mike Bass recovered the fumble. And once again, the Redskins' offense was shut down by the Doomsday defense. Redskins punted. Dallas took possession at their 42-yard line. Then there was a face mask penalty on Washington. Longley threw to Golden Richards. Again, the pass was too low to catch. This was the ninth time that Richard had a pass thrown to him. And almost every pass was way off the mark.
So you're saying he had 9 targets at that point and no receptions?
I think he had 1 out of the 9.
Oh, okay. Terrible.
1 reception. But it wasn't his fault. It's like every time he got open, they were off target. And then the next 2 plays produced not much gain. So now it was 4th down and 6 yards to go. And this is where Bob Hayes makes his entrance. Now this was Bob Hayes' final season with the Cowboys. He was no longer a starter. He wasn't, at this point, he really wasn't playing very much, right? No, he was pretty much at the end of his career. But he made maybe the most important play of the game. 4th down, 6 yards to go. He actually lined up in the backfield on this play. And he caught his only reception of the day. He got just enough for the 1st down. So, imagine that. If it wasn't for that play by Bob Hayes,
they wouldn't have had it, no.
We never would have seen that miracle throw by Clint Longley. Then the next play, Longley threw an incompletion to Pearson. And then it was on 2nd down. Longley dropped back to pass. And he had excellent pass protection on this play, by the way. And he just let it fly. And the result was a 50-yard touchdown to Pearson. And Pearson talked about this. He said it was like sweet redemption for him because they had played the Redskins just 2 weeks earlier, and he misjudged a pass in the end zone, dropped a pass in the end zone that would have tied the game. The Redskins were winning 28-21, and Pearson misjudged a pass in the end zone that would have tied the game.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think that game was televised, at least not in our area. Yeah, that would have tied the game. And that was the first year that the NFL had overtime. So he said he felt like he redeemed himself for that drop pass. So and then he also mentioned that the play, he was supposed to come back for the ball on that play, right? Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, he was supposed to come back for it. But he told Longley in the huddle that I think I can beat this guy. And he did beat him. So
if you watch that play, Mark,
yep.
The guy for the Redskins almost at one point is standing still. The defensive back that's covering Drew Pearson.
Yes.
Drew Pearson runs right by the guy like he's got roller skates on, Drew Pearson. The other guy's just standing there. He looks back.
Yeah.
He looks back at the ball, and he gets caught flat-footed pretty much.
Yeah.
Pearson goes in uncontested. It's not even close.
Yeah. I don't know what.
You know?
I don't know what, he thought Pearson was going to stop and come back for the ball. But you're right. It was like he kind of hesitated.
The thing about that game, Mark, is I don't know if you remember this. There was a lot of talk. There was like conflicting opinions about whether the Cowboys were going to make the playoffs that year or not.
Right.
But when the game was over, they were only one game behind the Redskins. Right. The Redskins were 8-4. The Cowboys were 7-5. The Cowboys had to win both of those games, and the Redskins had to lose both of those games.
Right.
Because there was only one wild card.
That's right.
Back then. Okay, but the Cowboys lost the next week, I think.
No, they
or
the following week they beat Cleveland.
Yes, and the Redskins actually, I think, won. That's what put the kibosh to it.
Yep.
They beat the Rams on a Monday night.
Right.
They beat the Rams on a Monday night, and the Cowboys ended up losing to the Raiders. I think that was like a Saturday night game on the final week of the season. The game didn't mean nothing at that point.
That's right. It was a Saturday night, which was odd.
I think George Blanda played that game.
That's right. Yeah, but like you said, that game didn't mean anything.
No, the Cowboys didn't make the playoffs for the first time in a pretty long time, since '66.
Yep.
So 8 years had passed. They made the playoffs all those years, but they missed. The thing about Thanksgiving, and I don't know if people get this because they don't. It's a different world today. Now you have 3 games on Thanksgiving, but at the time, the league was looking for a second game. There was only really one game at one point.
Yeah.
And Tex Ram, the general manager of the Cowboys, he said, we'll take it.
Right.
We'll take that game.
Yeah.
Because people say today, the Cowboys, they got a big advantage. They play Thanksgiving, and sometimes the week before they play at home. They got 2 games at home in a matter of 4 days, but nobody wanted it.
Oh. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the first game they had on Thanksgiving, the Cowboys, there were 75,000 people there. It was a big hit.
Yeah. Nobody wanted it because you're only getting 3 days rest.
Yeah, that was the drawback, yes. And they said, they favored the Cowboys. Tex Ram had a lot of pull. Yeah. Tex Ram was a very powerful individual in the NFL at that time. And some people claim he was actually maybe even more powerful than the commissioner himself. But they said, we'll take the game, and that's how it worked. But you had those games on Thanksgiving. Those were big because you didn't have all the football games like you have today.
No.
You did have you had Monday Night Football,
Yeah.
but you didn't have games. All these games that you could see every game now if you want to get the thing and all that stuff. The Sunday ticket. You had a couple of games on, 3 maybe on the weekend. You had 2 games on one channel, 1 game on another channel. One channel would have the doubleheader. You didn't see any highlights. There was no ESPN, really. You didn't have any of that stuff.
No.
And so you saw football games on Sunday, and that was it. A couple of seconds of highlights of your team, maybe on Monday night, if they covered it,
Yeah, halftime on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, you saw maybe 5 or 6 plays from a game, and you go, oh, look at this. That was a big thing. People don't get it. Like, that's something you can't explain to somebody.
No.
Either you lived through that or you didn't live through that. You know what I mean? It's hard to even explain how you didn't really know what a football, like some of the players really looked like, even because unless you had the football cards, really, that was the only way of knowing.
Yeah.
You didn't have all these interviews, and there was no internet. You could look up a guy.
No.
You either had like a football card. Oh, there's he's got a picture of a guy with no helmet on. It was a very big thing. People don't even understand that.
No.
You know what I mean? It's hard to explain to a guy today that's in his 20s or 30s, even 40s, maybe even. I don't know, but so these Thanksgiving Day games were big. They were wonderful.
Yes, they were huge. Huge games.
And that was, we both agree that was the most memorable game. Even though the Cowboys missed the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
That game on Thanksgiving, just because of the circumstances of Staubach getting knocked out and Clint Longley, nobody even know who the hell he was.
Yeah.
He came from a very small college.
That's right.
And it was the whole circumstances were great.
And the rivalry. The big rivalry.
The rivalry, yes.
Yeah. And what did I always have to laugh at the quote that Blaine Nye made after the game.
Oh yes.
The guard.
Yeah.
He was the offensive guard for the Cowboys.
And a very smart guy.
Yes, he became a professor, I think.
Yeah, I think he was from Stanford, Blaine Nye, wasn't he?
Stanford. And he said after the game, that was a victory of the uncluttered mind.
Yeah, exactly. He just went back and threw it.
Yeah.
He wasn't listening. He wasn't worried about all this other stuff that, Landry was threw a lot of stuff in it. Right. A victory from the uncluttered mind. That's right. And he said it himself. What's his name? Longley.
Yeah.
He goes, I felt like a gunfighter with the football that, if somebody was open, I could hit him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was. Look at his stats. Look at Clint Longley's stats for that game. I have him right here, I think. He Morgan, by the way, Mark, to get back to Morgan, he was a 10th round pick. I looked him up. I thought he was higher than that, but he wasn't. But here it is, right here. Player Clint Longley, 11 out of 20 for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns, 123 quarterback rating.
That's right. That's outstanding.
Okay, well, they didn't really talk about quarterback ratings back then. You know what I mean? But
tremendous.
Yeah, it was a hell of a game. That was it. He was going after he got into a fight with Roger Staubach the following season, I think, in the locker room, and Staubach fell down. His head hit the scale and everything else. He got got cut open, and then they got into it out in the. Staubach went after him, and he took off in his car, I think, Longley, and that was the end of him.
Yeah, he chased him. Staubach chased him.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he hit. Hit Staubach from behind. Originally, they were saying he hit him with a helmet.
He kind of sucker punched him, Mark.
Sucker punched him, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
So actually, there was actually still 28 seconds left in the game. So the Cowboys had a kickoff. Kilmer dropped back to pass and was hit by defensive tackle Jethro Pugh, causing Kilmer to fumble the ball. And Harvey Martin recovered it, and that was it. The game was over.
Imagine
I
that.
got a picture here. I got to show you. Here it is. I found it. Jethro Pugh. There it is, Dave. Remember that picture?
Oh, yeah, it's me and you
Yeah,
with Jethro Pugh. And it was a card show, I think, in New Jersey.
that's right.
Some kind of show we went down there for. But the whole Doomsday defense was there, I think, wasn't it? Or was it just... I can't remember. There was a couple shows I went to.
Yeah, it was the whole Doomsday defense. The front four.
Yeah.
It was the whole front four.
Yes. Yep. George Andre was there, and Larry Cole as well. And Larry Cole couldn't believe that I brought up that play against the Redskins in '79,
Riggins.
where he tacked Riggins. Yeah, behind the line of scrimmage, he got Riggins he dropped him for like a 2 or 3 yard load. This was when Riggins was fast.
Yeah, there he is.
Without that, yeah,
That's when.
there you go,
That's when he was with the Jets.
with the curly hair.
Yeah, and then Washington.
Let me tell you though, he was a force with the Redskins. He really was.
Oh yeah, he was tough to bring down.
No, he was fast too. He ran track in Kansas when he was in college. He was very, very good. Very good. But I remember that being kind of a bittersweet season. I mean, the game was great, Thanksgiving, and they won it. It gave you a little hope, but the following week they were dead in the water, you know.
Yeah, they beat the Browns. The following week, they beat the Browns 41-17.
But the Redskins won.
The Redskins won, and that was it. They were out of the play.
But they were losing that game on Monday night. The Redskins.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, you had a little hope.
Yeah.
The Rams were beating them early on,
Right.
and then they came. The Rams had nothing to play for. I remember that
They
game.
had everything clinched, right?
Yeah.
The Rams had,
Yeah, I got a couple. Yes, exactly. You're exactly right.
they had first place clinched.
I got a couple of things here, Mark. I want to show. We could talk. Look at
Just getting back to that game real quick. Then they played the Redskins again in the playoffs.
Yes.
The Redskins played the Rams in the playoffs.
That's right.
They lost 19-10, and that was the end of the Redskins.
Yeah, listen, the Redskins were good that year, but the Rams, who did the Rams end up playing a week after the Redskins?
Vikings.
The Vikings were a force back then.
The Rams could never beat the Vikings. Never.
Right?
Never could beat the Vikings.
Even when they had Roman Gabriel.
Yep.
They couldn't do it.
No, that was the team they couldn't beat.
They had some great teams, the Rams.
They had a lot of great teams.
And I mean, they had Jack Snow. They had a great defense.
Deacon
You know what I mean?
Marilyn Olsen.
Yes.
Jack Youngblood.
Yes. Couldn't do it.
No, they couldn't win the big
You know? I'd like to have to go back and look, but I'd like to know how many of those games were played up in Minnesota versus Los Angeles.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd like to take a look at that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was tough to play up there, Mark. It wasn't like it is today.
No, that was.
You know. They're playing inside. One thing, you talked about a lot of kickoffs these last games we were talking about. And I watched games today, and, they got a new kickoff rule where you got to kick it in between the goal line and the 20-yard line for a guy to return it. And the players are close to each other. They're not on the 40-yard lines. So I think they're only like 10 yards apart. They don't want these collisions of guys running downfield. So they're lined up close, and they can't move until the guy catches the ball. But the guys are kicking into the end zone, and the ball's coming out to the 30. These kickers today are booming kicks from 60 yards like it's nothing.
Yeah.
They are. It's 58, 59 yards. And so you only have to go, if you put the ball on the 30-yard line, you only have to go 30 yards.
Yeah.
All you got to do is get to the opposing 40-yard line. They really should only be bringing the ball out, this is my point, to the 20-yard line today.
Yeah, like they used to.
They should bring it back. That was the 20-yard line they used to bring it out to.
Yeah.
Well, I know they want scoring and all this other bullshit. I'm sick of it. Yeah. Okay, I'm sick of all the scoring and all the other crap that goes along with it.
Yeah.
People like to watch defense, okay? I'm a good football fan. A guy that will enjoy a defensive game. I know it's not good for the league. I know they want the scoring. I know it's more exciting, all that stuff. But just to only go 30 yards is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, Mark.
I know.
Ridiculous.
I agree.
I'm upset about that because every week I watch and I go, this is 2-3 passes and you're right there.
Yeah. You got some crazy rules.
No, and it's easy to complete these passes today because you can't do anything.
No.
You know what I mean? God forbid you just bump into a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It turns into a 30-yard game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's insane.
Yeah.
It really is. It's very, very disappointing.
Yeah, I can't even watch it anymore. What do you got there to show, Dave?
Oh, I got some stuff, Mark. I got a couple of cards. I have most of them in the books, but I pulled a few out that I have in this display case behind me. I got a Drew Pearson. He caught that. He caught that. Yeah, he caught that one. There was autographed there.
Oh.
He caught that one from Longley.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was great. Let me tell you, he was a great player. That was a sin what they did to him with the Hall of Fame.
Well,
and here's a Staubach rookie card right there.
Yeah, that's a rookie.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good corners and stuff. That was his rookie card. And here's a Tony Dorsett rookie.
Yeah.
A pretty good card there. And then here's a nice card. Tom Landry.
Yeah.
I showed him that card once.
Yeah.
And he was ready to sign it. And I said, no, don't sign it. I said, I just think, I'm going to leave it like this because I had some other things for him to sign, but he couldn't believe I didn't want him to sign it. But yeah, I think he only had 2 cards as a player, Mark. But that was one. I don't even know where I got these cards. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to collect cards up until maybe the 90s, and then I stopped.
Right.
Because it got out of hand, and I got turned off by the whole thing. They started the Pro Set came out with cards in the early 90s. Yeah. But a lot of my friends continue to give me cards, like to this day.
Yeah.
And I put them in books.
Right.
And I just throw them in books, random books, and I probably got some pretty good cards in there. I do have like a lot of other players' cards. Right. A friend of mine is currently trying to get all the Hall of Famers from the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And he's got a lot of them. I bet he's got 80% of them. Wow. All the players that played, and he's younger than us. He's in his late 40s. Uh-huh. But he's really, really into cards. Yeah. And he's collecting, and he's got a lot of Hall of Famers from the 60s and 70s. Because he'll call me up just out of the blue.
Right.
And he'll go, hey, did you ever hear of this guy? Such and such. And these guys are all Hall of Famers. Yeah. And I go, yeah, he was a great player. But to him, it's kind of new, you know what I mean? Because we don't really. He comes over on Sundays to watch games sometimes, but we don't really talk about a lot of these guys. Yeah. From the 60s a lot, more 70s we do, but he can't. He agrees though. He thinks the 60s and the 70s was the best era of professional football.
Oh yeah, no question about it. That was great.
He can't get. I got some books, Mark. Uh-huh. Remember this book here? I don't know if you got that one. That was Carton stuff. He used to write a lot. I think he had I don't know if he was a newspaper reporter but he used to do a lot of cowboy books. Right. And then I got one from Preston Pearson here, Hearing the Noise in My Life in the NFL. Right. And that might have been against that picture on the cover there. I think that was the game of the Hail Mary.
That's
I think this was the Hail Mary game.
That was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yes, exactly. He was a great player. And at the time, he was the only player that came from another team on the Cowboys.
That's right.
It was the only player that they had from another team.
That's right.
Here's one, Tom, from your buddy Paul Zimmerman.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I remember that book.
Dwayne, that was another picture off the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. That's right.
That was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Dwayne Thomas and Paul Zimmerman.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what he thought of Dwayne Thomas. That would be a great question to ask him if he was,
Yeah.
Here's a book. We talked about Hollywood Henderson and how he didn't play that game against the Oilers, how he got cut from the team.
Yeah.
But this was a book, Out of Control.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, Confessions of an NFL Casualty. And then years later, he wrote another book, Hollywood Henderson. It was called In Control, which I have over here. I forgot I even had that. I should have broke that out. This was after he got sober.
Right.
These are all these books are great readings for any Cowboy fan. But the In Control talks about how he cleaned his act up. The Out of Control book really is very interesting because he's talking about games he played when he was high.
Right.
And of course, you didn't know about this stuff. Now you're reading about it, 10, 15 years later, and they're saying, like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That he even played in that Super Bowl game in '78 with an inhaler in his sock.
That's right.
He was inhaling, drugs. He was keeping it in his sock, like a nasal inhaler.
Right, and nobody knew because they thought it was a nasal inhaler.
Listen, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But what a sin. Here's a program. There was a guy that used to come up and do shows. Mark, up in White Plains, they used to have a regional show. They used to call it the National Show.
Right.
And a lot of guys from all over the country would come up. And there was a guy, Dwayne, I think his last name was Haskins. I have his card upstairs. I forgot his first name. I ran into him years later. When I went to the Super Bowl when it was held in Dallas, when Pittsburgh played Green Bay.
Right.
It was January of 2011, I believe. And I see this guy, and he looks familiar, and he's looking at me.
Yeah.
And he says, you look familiar, he said. I said, I used to see you up in White Plains. We're talking in the early 90s. So we're talking 20 years later, more even, actually.
Yeah.
But I think I might have got this from him. This was a program from Tom Landry's funeral service.
Oh, nice.
It was really, it is. I got it in plastic.
Yeah.
And then, on the back, I didn't realize this was on the back. This was a faded picture. I had this up hanging in the store for years, and it got faded. It was a picture that I took of Randy White coming off the field, and he signed it to me.
Right.
We became kind of friendly, you know that.
Yeah.
Where I had been over to his house a couple of times, but this Landry thing was really, really nice. It was very unique, and I was like, I'm going to buy that because that's something I really wanted to have. You know what I mean? And this is kind of a rare thing. I don't know where I got this, but this was a book that they used to send to Cowboy players when they were drafted.
Yeah.
It's called Life with the Dallas Cowboys. And it shows the whole team, it shows it shows all the guys who are the scouts.
Right.
And when you get drafted, and it's got pictures. And in the back of the book, it shows family pictures in the middle there, you can see.
Yeah.
But in the back of the book, it's got questions that they would ask, players would ask, the most common questions. When do I get my salary? That's the number one question mark. When do I get my salary?
Yeah.
How about my expenses? What kind of extra benefits do I receive? Do I receive any money during training camp?
Right.
How do I pay for the benefit plan, I guess? And then do the playoffs and Pro Bowl mean added income? All those questions were here. And here are the 1985 Cowboys that received awards after the season, All-Pro, or they were on a guy. But this was a pretty good thing. I don't know. I forgot where I picked it up, but there's a lot of good reading in it. What do the writers say? It says here. Then it was pretty interesting. And that was the back cover of it.
Nice.
And then, like I said, this was the front cover of it here.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, I don't even know where I picked it up, Mark. And then we talked about the 93 game. Troy Aikman was the quarterback in that game and didn't really have great stats. I was looking it up. But the game was played in the ice, kind of. So, but he wrote a book. A lot of people don't know he wrote a book for kids. It's called Things Change.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, it's a children's book. It's got some nice pictures of him when he was really young.
Uh-huh.
The high school he went to over here.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of him there in high school. And it's a very simple book.
Right.
But it talks about how things change in life and some of the things you go through when you're young, maybe, it was a little different back then. Not everybody made the team, like they do today.
That's right.
And so, but here's a picture of his hometown. This is Henrietta, Oklahoma, where he was living there. I don't know if you could see that.
I see it.
Yeah, and I went down to Henrietta, Mark. When I went to that Super Bowl, some buddies and we went over to Henrietta, and I took this picture out just outside of town. It was there's a sign when you come in, and it says two famous cowboy champions, Jim Shoulders, he was a rodeo guy, and Troy Aikman, the quarterback. So there's that picture, but you could see the snow on the ground.
Yep.
And we went down to the Super Bowl, a couple of buddies of mine. We didn't go into the game because it was the Packers, but it was nice to go down for the week since they were holding it in Dallas.
Right.
And it was kind of neat, And here's a this is when they closed up Texas Stadium. This was the last program that they sold there. I think it was against the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, who ended up beating them that night.
Yeah.
And then, in addition, I have the one that opened the new stadium.
Right.
The 2009 season there. The Cowboys played the Giants there, September 20th, 2099. So those are kind of neat.
Yeah.
They're just regular game programs and normal stuff inside. But it was a nice thing to have. And here's a couple of plates. Plates in these mugs. These were released by the Danbury Mint. And they did a really nice job. This was an Aikman plate.
Yeah.
And these were Christmas gifts, actually. And it has his career stats on the back.
Wow, nice.
And they're all numbered on the bottom. It says Danbury Mint. And they also made these really nice mugs. I have one of Staubach and one of Aikman, but the mugs are really, really sharp.
Yeah.
It's got the top, even the top of it. They call them Steins, I guess, but the artwork on them, very, very impressive.
Tremendous artwork.
Yeah, those were really. I put them in that case behind me. And a couple of articles of clothing I brought down, Mark, that are kind of rare was this Super Bowl hat. And a guy that I know worked for Starter years ago. Remember Starter made a lot of pro stuff?
Yeah. But
this wasn't a Starter hat. This one I picked up from a guy. But on the side, I put that pin on there. See that Troy Aikman pin?
Yeah.
But on this side, they goofed. They got the NBA logo, yes. So the guy got me. I said, I'll hold on to that. And here's a real good one. This is from my buddy who did work down at Starter. You could see the Starter tag there. 1994, Mark.
Wow, that's going back.
Okay, look at this. What does it say? Watch this.
3 in a row. 92, 93, 199.
But but they didn't. There was no 3 in a row.
No.
But they did make these shirts. Remember the Niners beat them.
That's right.
But they did make us some shirts. And he said, let me give you one of these, And so I held on to it, I don't even know if I ever even wore the damn thing, but, those are just kind of a couple of things that, you know, we should do a whole show with some of the stuff that we got in the future, you know?
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Too much.
But let me tell you, I don't know about you, but you forget stuff that you even have.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it just sits in the closet for years, and then you take it.
No, that's right. I really enjoyed writing to the newspapers back then, and you could see one of them over my shoulder there. How about them Cowboys? It's on the door there.
Yeah.
That was when Alvin Harper. That's the '92 game, the championship game.
Uh-huh.
I used to get all the newspapers. I used to write to the Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram. I think Dallas had two papers at the time. They had the Morning News and they had something else. And I was on a tear for a while there, just getting papers and headlines, and especially when Tom Landry passed away.
Right.
And I saved them all, and I had them laminated.
Yeah.
I had them backed and laminated. And a lot of them I had hanging in the store, so they became yellow.
Yeah.
You know, from the lighting, but you know, it is what it is. Who cares?
Right.
But now, since we closed, I have them all in the cellar, packed away in boxes, and I keep that one out. That was one of my favorite headlines.
Yeah.
But I got some real old ones. I got some from the, you know, Super Bowls, from Super Bowl VI, I think, and even at the time you could have ordered back issues, believe it or not.
Wow. I didn't know that.
But I got them around somewhere. I got one of them here. Tom Landry passed away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could see Tom Landry dies there.
Oh.
You see the headline there?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, right over there. Landry passed away.
Yeah.
And this was a good one here, Mark. This is an autograph by Hollywood Henderson. This is the kickoff return to Super Bowl X.
Yeah, I remember that.
You see that? Yeah, he put it down there too. Super Bowl X. That's when they did the reverse.
Yep. And he almost went all the way. And the guy that stopped him was the kicker, Roy Gerella. Right?
Oh yeah. So yeah, he was a great player. I'm telling you. He ended up winning the lottery, Mark.
That's right.
Down in Texas, twice he won it. One time for $10 million, by the way, and this first time I can't remember exactly what it was, but he won the lottery 2 times. But
and he used a lot of that money to open a park for kids, right?
Yes, he did. They made it exactly.
Yeah,
he did. You know, and I remember Tom Landry spoke at one of his. He was like 10 years, I think, clean and sober. And Tom Landry came in to speak. I think he said he was surprised by that.
Yeah.
There's a very small clip of it out there that you could find.
Right.
You know, where he says, you know, he had a lot of heart, and he says, I wish he played his whole career with us. We might have won another 2 or 3 Super Bowls, Landry says.
Yeah, he was tremendous. Tremendous player.
Excellent. He was great.
Yeah.
But so they play this year at Thanksgiving again, the Giants, but very, very anticlimactic, Mark. They're having a terrible season. And they're getting into fights with the press. The players are saying, you know, but some of these players really need to be called out. The play has gotten, Mark, to the point where as you're watching the game, never mind game film, as you're watching the game on television, you can see some of these guys, they're actually sidestepping players to tackle so they don't have to tackle these guys head on. I'm not even kidding. I'm not exaggerating. There's players on the team that are being called out by the press, saying, you know, what's going on and why are the Cowboys, you know, why is this being like, you know, you're getting paid millions of dollars, and you're sidestepping a guy so you can tackle him from the side instead of, or even missing tackles completely because you're just diving at play. I mean, it's gotten bad. They're getting into arguments with local press reporters, is what I'm saying.
Wow.
And this has become a thing now down there that, you know, the press is calling them out. And you know something? Michael Irvin spoke about it on national television.
Yeah.
He spoke about it. He's on a show with what's his name? The Jets receiver, Keyshawn Johnson. Yeah. I don't know the name. It's on ESPN or it's on the NFL Network. It's on one of those. Uh-huh. And Michael Irvin's saying they're bringing it upon themselves. He's actually without calling out the players, and he apologizes. He says, look, I'm not saying anything bad. Yeah. He goes, but I have to tell it like it is, Michael Irvin basically is saying.
Yeah.
You're creating your own problems, and then you don't like it when somebody calls you out on it. That's what he's basically saying.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So, I'll obviously watch the game on Thanksgiving, but, it's just bad when you let a team get out of control like this and the players, I think, lose. It's almost like the players now run the teams, because you can't get rid of 53 players, so you get rid of one coach.
Yeah.
But they're very ill prepared in certain games, and you just watch them. And I there's some couple of players I do cheer for. They do have a couple of players that do play hard, but on a lot of these guys, they call a business decision. That's the new thing. Deion Sanders is the one who who invented that term. I made a business decision to not tackle a guy. People laugh at it. They think it's funny, but you know what? It's not really funny. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Sure is, especially for guys like us that watched. We watched the real thing back in the 70s. These guys were hitting.
I mean,
the rivalries were intense.
No, it really was. They weren't making the money. That's like Landry said it. He said it once. The money's too much.
Yeah,
that's what he said. He wasn't saying that he doesn't blame the players.
Yeah.
Take the money, yes, but as far as it ruined the game, is what he was saying.
Yeah,
and he passed away. 25 years ago almost. Yeah. So. He could see that coming down the pike, but I don't know. It is what it is. I still watch, you're still a fan, but it's not like those games we discussed here today. I can tell you that.
Oh, that's for sure. That is for sure. This will conclude our Thanksgiving special of our favorite Dallas Cowboy Thanksgiving games. Hope you enjoyed all 3 parts of this. Me and Dave want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.